Okay, so when you think Tom Cruise now, maybe you picture him, hanging off a plane at 60 years old. Just incredible stuff.
Absolutely. He's become synonymous with that kind of modern action spectacle.
Right. But before all that, there was this other Tom Cruise. The one who could, like, headline a massive blockbuster and get an Oscar nomination, sometimes almost back-to-back.
Exactly. And that's what we really want to dig into today. That specific period, that prime Tom Cruise.
So our mission for this deep dive is basically to unpack that golden era. What made him so unique back then? How versatile was he really?
And maybe ask, how many actors today could even pull that off? It's about getting a handle on what made prime Tom Cruise such a phenomenon. Consider this your shortcut to understanding him during that peak time.
Okay, let's start at, well, near the beginning of that rise, 1983. Risky Business.
Yeah.
That slide across the floor.
Oh, yeah. Sunglasses, socks, the whole thing. Iconic.
Instantly iconic. What was it about that moment, that performance, that just clicked? Made him a star overnight almost.
Well, he'd been noticed before, in Taps, The Outsiders.
Just solid role.
But Risky Business was different. It was pure, like lightning in a bottle. It showed this cool, confident, almost unpredictable energy. He just owned the screen with this charisma that felt new, kind of rebellious, but also something people wanted to be.
It wasn't just reading lines, he was that attitude.
Exactly. And then boom, just 3 years later, 1986, Top Gun.
Right, which wasn't just a movie, it was a cultural event.
Totally. Soundtrack, the jets, the volleyball scene. I mean, come on.
He was only 24, and suddenly he's defining cool for a whole generation. But you mentioned earlier, he wasn't just going to be the heartthrob, he had bigger plans.
Yeah, and you could sort of see it even then. Top Gun makes him a global megastar, right? But he didn't just coast. He could have easily just done Top Gun 2, 3, 4, stayed in that lane. But his choices right after that started showing ambition. He was looking for challenges, roles that would stretch him.
So that drive was already there, even at the height of that initial fame.
I think so, and that's often what separates, a movie star from a truly great actor. It's the range, the willingness to take risks, and that relentless need to evolve. He wasn't settling.
Okay, so moving beyond the charm and the looks, where do we first see that real dramatic depth emerge? Where does he start pushing himself?
Well, a huge step was Rain Man in '88. Playing Charlie Babbitt.
Opposite Dustin Hoffman, who won the Oscar for it.
Right. Hoffman's performance is legendary, obviously. But Cruise's role as Charlie, the sort of impatient, selfish guy, his journey is what anchors the whole film for the audience.
How so?
Because Charlie is our way in. We experience Raymond through Charlie's eyes, and Cruise has to pull off this really subtle, gradual transformation, learning empathy, connecting with his brother. It's his emotional arc that makes the film resonate so deeply beyond just watching Hoffman's incredible portrayal.
That's a great point. He had to be the relatable core.
He really did. And then, just 1 year later, completely different gear. 1989, Born on the 4th of July.
His first Oscar nomination.
Yeah.
And wow, what a performance. He completely shed that Hollywood polish.
Oh, totally. It was raw, painful. Playing Ronkovich, you felt the rage, the disillusionment, the physical and emotional trauma, but also the resilience.
Yeah.
He transformed physically, but more than that, he just embodied Kovich's agony and his fight. It was incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
Deeply human.
And he kept stepping up. A Few Good Men in '92, going head-to-head with Jack Nicholson.
That courtroom scene. Everyone remembers Nicholson exploding with, "You can't handle the truth."
Of course.
But watch Cruise in that scene. His calm, controlled intensity. It builds the whole thing. He's the one winding Nicholson up, pushing him towards that breaking point. He doesn't just react, he drives the confrontation.
He holds his own completely. Makes the scene work.
Absolutely. His performance makes Nicholson's even more explosive. And then you can argue the peak of this particular run, maybe, is Jerry Maguire in '96.
Yeah. Such a great movie.
It had everything, right? Romance, comedy, drama, that triumphant feeling at the end.
Show me the money.
Exactly. And you complete me. Those lines became part of the culture.
Yeah, they really did.
Because he delivered them with this genuine soul, this vulnerability. You really believed in Jerry's journey, his sort of crisis of conscience and finding something real.
So he's hitting these dramatic peaks, getting critical acclaim. But he never stopped being a massive box office draw either. He understood entertainment on a huge scale.
He absolutely did. And this is where you see the shift, or maybe the addition, of the blockbuster Titan persona really solidifying Take Mission Impossible in 1996.
Which he also produced, right? Took control.
Exactly. He didn't just star, he shaped it. And crucially, this is where the serious stunt work really kicks into high gear. Hanging from the ceiling in Langley, the train sequence.
That commitment was intense.
It wasn't just for show. It felt like he was setting a new standard for action realism, or at least actor commitment within the action. That intensity became a hallmark. He was redefining the genre in a way.
And then you get Minority Report in 2002 with Spielberg, which is sci-fi, sure, but it's got layers. It's philosophical, psychological.
It's not just flashing lights and gadgets. And Cruise is the key to making it work on a human level.
Yeah, so.
His character, John Anderton, is going through hell. He's desperate, grieving, hunted. Cruise grounds all the high concept stuff, the pre-crime, the technology, in this really raw urgency and heartbreak. You feel his panic, his need for answers. That's what makes it more than just cool sci-fi.
Makes the ideas land harder.
Definitely. Then something quite different again with The Last Samurai in 2003.
Yeah, that felt like a departure too. More reflective.
It showed this humility. His character is this broken, flawed outsider who finds a kind of grace through immersing himself in another culture, through loss. It wasn't the typical hero narrative. It was more nuanced.
A quieter strength, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And then, talk about a swing, Collateral in 2004.
Whoa, yeah. Playing Vincent, the hitman.
Completely against type. The gray hair, the suit, that cold, detached stare.
Yeah,
It was genuinely terrifying.
He really was. There was no charm, no wink to the audience.
None. He was just efficient, ruthless death. Didn't blink, didn't explain. It was chilling because it felt so real, so devoid of any usual movie killer tropes. You just couldn't look away. It was a shocking, brilliant transformation.
Okay, so looking back at all these roles, the dramas, the action, the shifts in character, what was it about his actual craft during this prime period that made him stand out? Beyond just being famous.
Yeah, that's the core question, isn't it? It really comes down to craft, and a huge part of that was his preparation. It was obsessive.
How?
He didn't just learn lines, he'd prepare for months, training physically like an athlete, even for non-action roles sometimes, memorizing scripts backward and forward. He didn't just act committed, he was totally committed, immersed.
So that intensity we saw on screen came from real deep work beforehand.
Absolutely. That conviction, whether he was playing a fighter pilot or a grieving father or a slick agent, it felt authentic because the groundwork was immense. It blurred the line between star and character.
And look at the directors he worked with during this time. Scorsese, Kubrick, Spielberg, Paul Thomas Anderson, Michael Mann. These are legends.
An incredible list. What did they see in him?
Yeah, what drew them to collaborate with him on such major projects?
Well, the work ethic, for sure, but also I think his boldness in choosing roles. He wasn't afraid to be flawed or unlikable or deeply vulnerable on screen.
Like Magnolia.
Magnolia, exactly. 1999, playing Frank T.J. Mackey, this toxic, swaggering, self-help guru.
Who's just masking incredible pain.
Right. It's such a raw, layered, almost uncomfortable performance in places, and it got him his third Oscar nomination. It showed incredible range and willingness to go to difficult places. That vulnerability under the bravado, that's risky for a major star.
And he could do that and then turn around and do Mission Impossible, too. That balancing act is maybe the most unique thing.
It really is. Juggling prestige pictures with massive blockbusters and succeeding critically and commercially in both year after year. That's incredibly rare.
So, summing it up, it feels like prime Tom Cruise genuinely redefined Hollywood stardom for that era.
I think he did. He wasn't just in great movies. You felt like he made them great. He elevated the material, the directors, his co-stars.
Turned scripts into cultural moments.
Yeah. And his track record from, say, 86 Top Gun through to '04 Collateral, it's almost flawless in terms of impact and quality, just incredibly consistent.
So what are the big takeaways from that prime era? What did he show us?
That intensity doesn't have to be just shouting. That cool can have depth and thought behind it. That mainstream entertainment can still be meaningful and explore complex ideas. He was like a chameleon, but also a leader, a force.
It's funny because today, Tom Cruise is still doing amazing things. Still the mission. Impossible movies, breaking records, running like crazy.
Still defying gravity. Yeah, it's undeniably impressive. Still a massive star.
But that prime Cruise period, it really was something distinct, wasn't it?
It was something else. That specific time when one actor could just seamlessly dominate drama, romance, and action, often all within a couple of years. It set a benchmark.
You felt like you were watching more than just a movie star.
You knew you were watching a master at work. Someone completely dialed in, giving everything. He wasn't just one of the biggest stars. During that prime, he was genuinely one of the greatest actors around.